Flower Smash.
Okay, so this is Rune. Your turn.
I am cool.
And
I'm Tetrahedrite. Yeah, no one cares.
You
and
can also call me Omega.
so
Power.
What the fuck? Why can't I move?
in this video
What
we're
is
gonna
going on?
talk
Why
about
couldn't I move in directions?
the subject of link summoning in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the implications it has on so many decks. So we'll need to preface this by talking about how exactly link summoning works, and then we can move to actual discussion. So, thanks to this overlay I have on screen here, we only have to have, in this example, you only have to tribute 2 or more effect monsters.
It's not tributes, it's important. It's basically the same as synchro summoning, except it's easier.
It's
by a
sad.
lot.
Send 2 or more effect monsters to the grave, and then you can put the link monster in your link zone. And the link arrows will dictate which zones can be used as extra deck zones from there on forward. So in a sense, you have to unlock your main monster zones for use with extra deck monsters now. And with that, we can go into actual discussion.
Oh. There's still more though with the link guys. So okay, so you need to have the number of monsters at once, and it's like because it's a link 3, so that basically means you need to add up to 3. But the thing is, the reason it says 2 or more is because a link monster can actually be used as material up to its link number. So it's basically just saying you can't use another link 3 for it. You have to use at least 2 monsters. So you could use 3 different normal main deck monsters, or you could use a link 1 and a link 2, or a link 1 and 2 thing, or a link 2, and
Doesn't Decode Talker allow you to take your opponent's link zone?
No.
I think one of them does. I'm not sure though.
That's a whole thing with Extra Link, where you have to keep chaining shit together,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
eventually you can take control of both extra zones.
That's
So
right.
far, I don't think it's worthwhile from what I've been looking at, but
It's just one of those fun things you do to mess with people.
it is a thing that you can do. It's just so far it's not worthwhile. We'll see, because there are actually effects that go off of that apparently on some of the newer Link monsters, where they do get the advantage if you have Extra Linked.
Yeah.
But yes.
So the next topic of discussion is what decks can and cannot benefit from the new Link mechanic.
One of the best examples of probably the deck that gets hurt the most would be your good old Synchro Spam or Quasar decks. Those decks get hurt a lot by links.
They actually apparently in practice do not get hurt as much as you would think, simply because their main gimmick is that they can keep shitting out monsters to be used as material. It's just now that you can start using them as materials for your links, and then you can keep going into synchros. So it's not as bad as it could be with them. But
It does
that's
slow them down a lot though.
they just have to change up their tactics a bit. The main thing is that, again, because we were discussing this before, it's essentially kind of a tax on the extra deck, and it doesn't hurt the decks that can keep shitting things out as much as the ones where they mainly just okay, I do this and I do this, and that's my field. So you have to have the summoning power to make up for it, for one thing. And again, because not all decks are going to be hurt equally by this, it's not really leveling the playing field and saying, oh, well, everyone's getting hurt by the summoning restrictions. No, not quite. Especially, this is even ignoring, of course, the part where the decks that don't even need the extra that much just say, well, what, I don't care.
Yeah, like True Kings and Monarchs. Or True Dracos and Monarchs, what I would say.
Well, True Kings, True Dracos each, for one thing, because they're one of the most big things right now. And then, of course, the other one, of course, Zodiacs still refuse to die so far. But that's in part because they actually have a Link monster that allows them to keep going, in this case, Mrs. Radiant, and I'm not sure why they decided that was a good idea, but whatever.
What's the name of the card again?
Mrs. Radiant. It's a play off of Milus Radiant, way back from Metal Raiders.
Yeah.
Because there was one guy for each attribute, and he was the Earth one.
Okay, so in that regard, decks such as Burning Abyss are going to straight out die to this mechanic.
Burning Abyss cannot exist because of their inherent mechanics. If you bring out, you basically, their only way I see them Burning Abyss existing is as a summon Dante and then set a whole bunch of floodgate cards, because if you want to make, you can't really make multiple Dantes anymore, because the second you have a link, any more Burning Abyss you summon die.
Yeah, linking isn't going to work because all of your main deck Burning Abyss guys hate things that aren't Burning Abyss. So unless you have ways to keep negating their effects just to get them on the field, just to have them as material, you're not going to get anywhere. Because they're going to keep wanting to blow themselves up.
Even with Fiendish Rhino Warrior being a thing and a near staple in Burning Abyss, it's not going to help, because then they had to make a very hard choice as to whether they want to keep their Fiendish Rhino Warrior or make their Link.
Not to mention, also with Burning Abyss though, is that lost my train of thought there.
But yeah, they can't really make their fields nearly as strong anymore. That's probably going to be the case with a bunch of decks that are like xenophobic in a certain way, because if you even if it's just an archetype thing, if you don't have things, most decks are not going to have links in their archetype. Let's just say that. How's that?
Exactly.
So like, if your stuff restricts you, where you can only do stuff in your archetype, and you don't have links, which most decks are not, so that's going to be an issue.
That being said, decks like ABCs that don't necessarily need to
ABCs aren't really xenophobic. No, they'll be fine. Not fine, but they can adapt better than a lot of decks are going to be able to, I think. Simply because it's not going to be like as much as, say, like the Synchro guys, but they can keep shitting out materials for things. Not like to the extent of certain decks, but that's my cell phone, whatever.
So
yes, also a good deck that I could see rising to maybe like somewhat prominence, like tier 2, would be Dark Worlds, because they don't really, if most, they go into extra deck once in the duel to bring out like Levier for when they banish up their field spell. They don't really care about that, and they can play all the annoying field spells.
Dark Worlds,
or not field spells, all the annoying floodgate cards.
I think Dark Worlds are just a little too power creep these days, but they're not like terrible if you just need something to bring to your crap locals like us.
Another thing though is, I was trying to think of how to make Please work in the new format, and one of the hardest things for me is I was thinking, well, I'm like, well, you can make links and then unlock your zone, which the problem is they have the built-in effect of cannot special summon non-monsters from, or non-Cleatfort monsters, but then I remembered something. Perform Repel Trample Links. They used to play that a lot back in the day, and you could play that, bounce your Scout, and then link some. And then bring back Scout, and one of the best parts about Scout, though, if he's bounced back to your hand, you can use his effect again when you remake him, or when you reactivate him, which is really good. So honestly, I could see that deck working as a Floodgate anti-meta deck. I might potentially be interested in building that, and get those cards off your hands, or at the very least,
I know we got a few
use one.
pieces.
I'll have to check on those later, see what you got.
On
the subject of that, though, luckily, the one card in the deck that was expensive, Monolith, is getting a confirmed super rare reprint, so it should be a lot cheaper. It already fell from $20 to about $8 now.
I know we have one of them.
You actually have a Monolith?
I believe so.
I saw you guys had a Soul Transition, and I need one of those if I want to build a deck.
One thing, actually, a lot of Pendulum decks are going to be hurt by this a lot, and not just by like the link rules themselves, but also like, say, the way they reset the Pendulum zones. They're not their own thing anymore. They take up 2 of the spell and trap zones.
Exactly.
So it's like either you can have set 5 or you have your scales, but you can't have both anymore.
That does also slightly hurt Please too, because they love playing a ton of Floodgates, which having 2 less zones to play Floodgates could hurt them. But the main thing I see it hurting a lot is the Demise build. I can still see it working, it's just less things to set with Demise, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, but on that subject though, I've been hearing that like the new Pendulum Magicians like the stuff that we're gonna get not too long from now.
Yeah, like we're getting
Everyone
that on
was
Friday.
expecting it to be like dead on arrival, pretty much, but it's actually apparently kind of rogue, at least in OCG right now, surprisingly.
I thought I heard that too, but yeah, we'll be getting that set, I believe, because that new Pendulum Magician stuff comes out in the set where they're reprinting Monolith, which comes out this Friday, so not too long.
And of course, they had to make it a set instead of just giving us a structure deck like normal people.
I
It's
know, I hate it.
like, hey, this deck's gonna die in a month. Here, have it as a set instead anyway.
At
You'll
least
still
they
buy
were,
it.
unlike
I
the
won't.
last set they did, what was that one garbage set? The one after Maximum Crisis. At
The
least
Dimensional Guardians, you
yeah,
mean?
at least unlike Dimensional Guardians, this time they actually put a couple of good cards people want to reprint it in there.
That also being said, I can
Exactly.
actually see Necros coming back as at least a minimum of a tier 2.
I agreed. I see Necros having a solid future, especially honestly if they take anything off the ban list for Necros, I see them instantly coming back into the meta to some degree.
It's just I don't think anyone actually wants to play the deck until they get short back.
Exactly. Because using the Gishkis is not it works, but it's not Shuri. It really isn't.
I think that's probably part of why they printed Ariel as a Necros,
Yeah.
because she can do the like level adjustment thing.
Mm-hmm.
So she can do that half of what Shuri did, but not like the other half.
Honestly, at this point, though, Shuri could come back to one of no big issues. Honestly, I think they should just put Shuri to 1, Prep to 1, or not 1, sorry, Prep to 2, Shuri to 1, and then possibly Unicorn to 2, because Unicorn was good and all because it negated the extra deck stuff a lot of the times, but at the same time, there's going to be a rise of non-extra deck decks. Like, you know, right now we're in the true Draco meta and stuff like that, and they don't really care. They'd be like, oh, you have your Necros negating my extra deck? Yeah, I'll just not go in the extra deck because I
Yeah.
don't.
I'll just run you over with my main deck muscle. I can do that.
Yeah. Hello, Masterpiece.
On that note, I do see Masterpiece going to possibly 2 or 1 within 3 ban lists.
Guaranteed. 3
Af-
ban lists, yeah.
Yeah, after literally Zodiac cannot be a deck anymore. Yeah, I could see that going. But honestly, you are right. They did hit that in Japan. They put Masterpiece to 1, and I was really surprised that they put the Field Spell to 1, Dragonic Diagram to 1. That
What
surprised me.
everyone was surprised about is that they put Terraforming to 2 after so long.
I know.
And it's like, okay,
Now
is
we
that-
got set rotation. Just substitute one of those, you know?
Yeah, although set rotation is as good as I thought it was, because I guess you need 2 completely different field spells. Not 2 of a kind, just 2 completely different ones, which is unfortunate because I misread the card. I thought it was better than what it actually was, so it's not really... At first I thought it could be a really good terraforming replacement, but unfortunately, unless your deck uses multiple field spells, or you're okay with giving your opponent a crappy field spell and running it to give it to them, then I probably wouldn't play it.
Again, the main thing that people use with set rotation to give to their opponent is something their opponent literally can't use. And the best example of this is probably Gateway to Chaos, because you need to be able to search either a BLS or a Gaia monster.
Exactly.
On that note, decks that will probably benefit from that don't really care about terraforming going to 2 are in fact Harpies, for that matter.
Harpies,
like-
spellbooks too, because they have search for it.
The decks that have their built-in searches for their field spells are going to have a better time, though there aren't too many of those decks, unfortunately.
Yeah, and spellbooks is another deck I could see doing good during Link format because they're getting Rudra, which is a solid support card. Not to mention the fact that, to be honest, they don't even need to go into their extra deck at all either. I mean, they can just crap out whatever, they can literally just fade away whatever problem they run into. Not to mention, one of my favorite things about the deck, and along with Dark Worlds too, is that because their field spell lets them draw, you can run triple Reckless Greed, and it's really good. One of the best pluses you could ever have happen to you is if someone Twin Twisters your 2 set Reckless Greeds. Oh, you have a good day.
Because you're technically plus 8 off that, right?
Something crazy like +6, +5, +4.
I don't think it's that big, but yeah.
No, probably a +3. Yeah, +3 if you count 1, 2. Yeah, about a +2, +3.
So, in that regard, decks. So in short, decks that can spam much more freely from the main deck are not going to be hit as hard by links as most people would think.
Especially something like Cosmos, they're infamous for spamming from the main deck.
Pretty much all of the TCG exclusive archetypes we've gotten recently don't even give a shit about the extra deck, and a lot of people are wondering if that was intentional.
Burning Abyss obviously is the only exception to that.
Burning Abyss is the main exception, but pretty much everything after that. Because Noble Knights
Spirals.
as well, they needed their extras. They had like their Xyz, and they had a synchro as well for some reason.
Yes, Subterras and Spirals don't need it.
So, early link format is going to be a very dangerous place for Yu-Gi-Oh! In short, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Until more link monsters and more archetypal link monsters hit the meta and can help some of the things that will get hit by links, I would heavily recommend, if you have the spare cash to throw around, get copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, and definitely get your hands on Ash Blossom.
Yes, and then definitely, if you were lucky enough and not stupid, getting that cherries before people buy them out or something. If you think you find something that might be broken or a really good way to exploit the upcoming meta, don't hesitate, because someone else will think of it too, most likely, and then buy out the collection of the cards on like TCG Player and then double its price. Key in point, Winter Cherries. Like a couple weeks ago, I was thinking, I'm like, well, what if we just Winter Cherries away their decode talker, or like especially their Firewall Dragon, because they're only really going to be playing probably like 1 to 2 link monsters. Like, what if their Firewall Dragon is done? Like, they're done then.
Yes. On that note, though, there is hope for people that, like me, could not afford it at the time, because with there's a Megaton that supposedly in the next year, was it?
Well, the Megaton this year coming out in September might have Winter Cherries, because I know last year's one did have
They did have Ghost Ogre.
Ghost Ogre, yes. So
they actually gave us free Ghost Ogres even.
Yes, it's unconfirmed if they will, but on the plus side though, Desires is going to be in every single one of them. But
Desires is going to be the not variant, and it's going to be very interesting.
And honestly though, like if you're like me and had the unfortunate tragedy happen to you at your locals of activating Desires and having your opponent Ash Blossom you don't want to touch that card with a 10-foot pole anymore.
Yeah, that's the biggest drawback of Desires now. Ash Blossom's like, oh, nice cost you just paid. Nope, you don't get anything for it.
Yeah, I remember I played that in the...
That being said, Ash Blossom is going to be a card that can and will hold its value for quite some time.
Because, yeah, she basically still hits most of the good effects that cards can have right now.
Exactly.
So, I believe that pretty much covers all the discussion that we currently have on hand about links and link format as in the upcoming meta.
So yeah, in short, stick to decks that have a lot of main deck either muscle or can spam little shits that you can turn into muscle.
And remember, if you have your own decks and you want to try to bring them to link format, there's no shame in experimenting with them and seeing if you can bring them into link format, or at the very least, update your decks so they can work with the link mechanics. So definitely don't give up on your decks, but if they don't work, then definitely do consider possibly investing into something that can work in link.
It all depends on what we get for more link monsters.
And remember, for the beginning of link monsters, tokens.
Alright.
Get your Photon Sanctuaries for Firewall.
Yes. And also get your scapegoats.
Alright. Thanks for tuning in and listening.